Wedding photographers of Reddit, what was your "they're not gonna last long" moment? I'm a videographer and the groom called me a couple days after the wedding. He wanted me to make sure I didn't include any footage of him checking out the women at the wedding. LOL. So how much of the footage did you have to exclude? Surely you became ultra aware of it when he said that. No way, why would they even marry in the first place? To be fair, I've been with my GF for 11 years and we love each other very much. That doesn't mean we stopped looking at other people. LOL. When I see a hot woman, I notice her as much as her notices other dudes. We're humans, not machines. I've photographed a few weddings, but this comes from a time my friend bought his girlfriend a ring for Christmas. It was obviously an engagement ring. But she claimed it was just a Christmas gift. My friend agreed. We all knew he was lying. A year later they become engaged. She insists on a location wedding. She wants to fly off and get married on a tropical island. My friend profusely apologizes to me, tells me he wanted me as a best man, but she wants her best friend's husband as the best man. I don't go to the wedding. The bachelor party took place after their honeymoon. We were all drinking and having a good time. He tells me that the ring from Christmas was his first engagement ring to her, but it wasn't good enough. She was just a showy girl and needed a bigger rock. He spent twice as much on the second ring. It's been 3 years since that bachelor party. They have been divorced for a year. She's now pregnant by a man as old as her father. I bet Sugar Daddy has plenty of cash. No joke. I recognized the groom from a Grindr. I presume that means he at least included a face pic. If not, I have at least 14 other questions. Can you list them? Heh. This is not a red flag. A man can be bisexual, have great fun for many years on the gay side. Then, one day fall in love with a woman, be faithful to her and stay on the hetero side. While shooting video, I attached a microphone to the groom for audio and proceeded to prepare for the ceremony. Just as I was about to adjust my audio settings, the groom stepped into another room with a friend. As I put on my headphones, I overheard the groom confiding in his friend, describing the wedding as a wedding of convenience and reassuring them not to be concerned about what would happen in their relationship. I know 2 people who had a wedding of convenience. He's gay, she's a lesbian. Their parents are Chinese, immigrants to the USA on one side, still in China on the other. They have a marriage that makes their parents happy, they're really good friends/roommates, and they do what they want on the side. It works, but the logistics must be intense. I mean, it's pretty much the same as having a roommate, right, but better. At the rehearsal dinner, every toast to the bride was some euphemistic variation of "I'm so glad you finally found someone to put up with your bullshit." They barely made it to the 6-month mark. I don't know why I found that so funny. I'm imagining they ranged from subtle jabs to like her brother just flat out saying it. "Derek, you're a great guy for marrying my sister. She is a complete bitch and I'm begging you to leave her now or you will lose your soul forever. I have nothing good to say about her at all and I can't believe I'm even here. Anyway, run now. If you choose to stay with her, well, you've been warned. Good luck." I'm not even joking. This is for real, bro. Over coffee, at our initial "do they want to hire me" meeting. They argued bitterly the entire time and eventually, the groom just sat back in his chair with his arms crossed and wouldn't speak to either of us. I went home and the next day, emailed them the old something suddenly came up and that my schedule had unfortunately changed. Red flags aren't just for the people in the relationship. Vendors, see them and heed them. Yup. I took a job, desperately to pay rent, from a couple like this. They sent a letter saying they were going to sue because we didn't take enough photos, even though we didn't know ourselves how many photos we took. Anyway, I gave them the digital copies, but not the edited physical albums, and they shut up. I later heard they actually sued the reception venue because there was a fire in the kitchen in a separate building, ruining their special day. Not sure how successful that was. Think you were played. The maid of honor very drunkenly said in her speech for the groom to call her once the marriage was over. A couple of her friends said that in their speeches actually, and the best man told the bride the groom's phone lock code in his speech because she was going to need it. Those two last maybe a year. The bride ended up moving states for a new job, which made sense to me after seeing how shitty her friends and family were during that wedding. The other couple I can think of had 12 bridesmaids/groomsmen each, yes 24 people just in the wedding party. Not including users, guest book attendant, flower girls etc. The bride and groom belonged sorority/fraternity at the same school, that's why there were so many people. The bridesmaids/groomsmen had all dated each other and several of them had dated the bride and groom in college too, so it was a ton of fighting and drama the whole day. Those two lasted a while. I think 5 years. But the bride got pregnant on their honeymoon. I doubt they would have lasted a year if she hadn't gotten pregnant so quickly. Years after they broke up, I was invited to the bride's younger sister's bridal shower. They were family friends, and the OG bride got drunk on champagne and talked about how miserable she was planning her first wedding, and besides her daughter it was the biggest mistake of her life blah blah, so that was fun. Edit, for the confused comments, the last bride regrets the marriage, not the daughter. Sorry, I should have been more clear. She regretted getting married to her first husband/wedding but not having her daughter. The daughter is in junior high now, seems very happy and loved. This sounds eerily close to a wedding for a girl who was once a FWB of mine. We sort of faded into friendship. Wedding was amazing. She went all out. But there were 18 bridesmaids/groomsmen. Groom picked his guys' outfits, all Letterman jackets and jeans in a country where our high schools/colleges don't do that. Bride had the bridesmaids all in shabby, short-skirted versions of her wedding dress and Skechers shoes. Honestly, it looked all right. The wedding photos with the bridesmaids and groomsmen looked fun, like a flash mob in a movie, well choreographed and rehearsed clearly. But in all the pics he was in, the groom was always on his phone, scrolling or texting. Even the wedding cake photos he has his phone in one hand behind his back, fully in view. What was so important on his wedding day? Well, he was checking dating sites. The whole damn day. Everyone except the bride seemed to know. They lasted 6 months. That's wild, and such a red flag. Like bruh, everyone important in your life, or pretty close, should be in the same room. Whom's the fuck would you be texting? I met with potential clients to go over the details of the wedding and to see if we would be a good fit to work together. I tried to schedule something at a cafe, but they insisted on me coming to their house. When I arrived, there was a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket of dirty diapers on the front porch. I had a feeling this wasn't going to go well. A young kid, probably 7 or so, answered the door. All I could see and hear were children running around everywhere. The soon-to-be husband was sitting on his bed that was in the living room watching TV, and the bride was in the kitchen with 2 kids on either hip. She told me to sit at the kitchen table to go over the wedding details. She shouted at her fiancé to come and join the meeting where he didn't acknowledge that I was there to talk about shooting their wedding. The bride was annoyed, then asked if I saw the bucket full of dirty diapers on the porch. I said that I had, and she said her fiancé has so many kids with other women that is the only place to keep them so they don't stink up the house. I did not take the job. I always wondered what happened to that couple. We are doing fine and have 2 buckets now. Her 3 kids from a previous marriage, 8, 9, and 12, were screaming their asses off and covering themselves in soda and overturning tables while making extremely hostile, profanity-laden demands for a drivable Hot Wheels car, and escalated to just randomly hitting people with baseball bats. Whole time mom was going haha, aren't they so crazy? Oh, it's okay, they just get to express themselves. We unschool. Lasted, as far as I know, somewhere between 4 and 5 months. What the fuck is unschool? Edit, oh. I looked it up. It's just neglect. Bride was such a monumental bitch, her mom gave me a $500 tip for not walking out on the event when she was treating everyone, even her now husband, like a piece of shit employee. She did the whole clicking fingers thing when wanting someone to do something for her, and she berated the DJ for grabbing a sandwich when he'd been there for about 8 hours and was told that he should have brought his own lunch and she would be taking the cost of the food, like an open buffet style, out of his paycheck. They were divorced within 3 years, but not before having 3 kids that have stupid names. Having 3 kids that have stupid names. Dear Hunter. Go tell Jaden and Bronxana that dinner's gonna get cold. I'm pregnant with our first and I'm now adding Dear Hunter to my list of name proposals. Not only does this add weight to the names I want my partner to lean towards, but also it will make him laugh. Wedding photographer from India here. Bride's mom dissed non-stop about the groom to a couple of our photographers. She believed that her daughter is too beautiful for the guy they promised her hand to and how she'd rather have him die sooner than seeing him with her daughter post the wedding. Bride and the groom had the first dinner separately because the bride wasn't just in the mood to have their reception dinner together. This is the final nail in the coffin. Post the wedding, when we were about to photograph portraits of the couple, the groom walked up to us saying that he's too tired from the wedding, so it'd be better if we could use the photos from the previous weddings we shot and morph his face onto those, and walked away. They divorced 3 months later. Holy shit, that last one. That is bonkers. Just deep fake me and boss, I'm tapped out. When the groom looked at her like she was the love of his life, and she treated the day like her prom and ignored him. I think they lasted 6 months. This was my wedding, sad face. He ignored me most of the reception and I had to drag him onto the dance floor, but even then he only gave me a single song. I kept going around the wedding looking for him, and when I'd find him he'd be in the middle of a conversation and I'd have to just stand quietly behind him because he wouldn't fill me in on what they were talking about. At the end of the wedding, we had a send-off moment where everyone made an arm tunnel for us and cheered us on our way to the elevator. It was cute, but I felt his hand slip out of mine and I turned around at the door to the elevator to see that he'd stopped a few feet back to talk to his friend some more. I looped my arm through his, yet again he didn't include me in their conversation, and stood there awkwardly rubbing his arm to try to get his attention. When I finally managed to get his attention, I think I cracked a joke to the whole group about we have to go consummate the marriage or it isn't legal, see y'all at the after party. He raised his voice at me, saying that I was tearing him away from his friends. He had spent all day and night with his friends. I just wanted to take a turn. It was the most pathetic version of myself I've ever been. We lasted 4 years. I hope you're in a much better and happier place now. Oh, absolutely. I'd had self-esteem issues for so long at that point. Finding the courage to leave a man who didn't care about me was what finally cured me. Groom didn't want to participate in any wedding pictures after the ceremony. I believe he was more interested in drinking beers with his buddies. I don't think they lasted a year. I went to a weird wedding like this. It was my wife's high school best friend's wedding. My wife's friend, in my opinion, is a wonderful person, very caring and smart, but suffers from a bad inferiority complex. She did the online dating thing for a while and dated this stereotypical rich dude from a waspy family. He was a corporate lawyer. Absolutely did not mesh personality-wise with her. Forgot to mention my wife's friend also came from a very well-off family, but she never flaunted it or fit any of the stereotypes of a rich person. So they end up getting engaged, and every time we hung out as a group, I would struggle to find topics to talk with the guy about because all they wanted to discuss was baseball and the stock markets, 2 topics I couldn't care less about. So at the wedding, which was held at this very fancy venue in our city, they did the obligatory religious ceremony, walked around together and thanked people. But once the reception was going on, the groom literally hung out with his frat brothers the whole time. My wife's friend pretty much stayed glued to my wife and her other friends, and they danced all night. The only time the groom peeled away was to do the first dance thing together, and then he literally went back to ing it up with his friends. I even pointed the out to my wife during the reception, and my wife tried to steer her friend to her friend's now husband, but he would see them approaching and yell out he needed to grab some drinks for the guys and disappeared. This is the worst part. At the end of the wedding, the expectation is they would leave together, right? Nope, the groom said he and the guys were going to go out around town so he could say a final goodbye and he will meet his wife at the hotel later. I was fucking blown away at what a horrible fucking match he was. One of the bridesmaids cried the entire time from makeup till reception. Would have nothing to do with the groom. Kept wanting photos of just her and the bride. 8 months later, bride and groom are separated and she up and elopes with the bridesmaid. Okay, way off topic, but I just noticed your username. I'm assuming you're from the St. Louis area, and if you are, this story just made a hell of a lot more sense. I am from St. Louis and I used to shoot a ton of weddings there. But this wedding was in Nebraska. Bonus story, I did shoot a wedding in St. Louis where the best man was the groom's brother, who spent his entire speech talking about being estranged from the groom for years, but that they'll always have the childhood memory of seeing Bigfoot smash their dad's truck window in. I have no clue if that couple is still together, though. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.